Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my BookTube channel. Today's video is going to be a reading wrap-up of all of the books that I read for Black History Month. For those of you who don't know, the month of February is Black History Month here in the US, and I made it a priority to try and focus more on reading stories that were by and about Black people, Black authors, artists, etc. And so this video is to wrap up all of the books that I read for that month. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the ones that I read towards the beginning of the month. First up is an anthology. It's called Resistance and Hope, Essays by Disabled People, that's edited by Alice Wong. I read this as an ebook and it features prominently the works of several Black disabled people and people of color. And these are just a series of essays that deal with topics about the intersection of disability with race, gender, American life, American politics. I found that it was a very thought-provoking, very affirming read. Next up, I finished On the Come Up, which was Angie Thomas's second novel, a follow-up to The Hate U Give. I really enjoyed this. The main character is quite different from Star. She is an aspiring rapper that wants to be able to make it big and move past the circumstances of her upbringing, you know, the poverty of her upbringing through rap, but she has to negotiate her way through this when it comes to determining the type of public persona that she's going to have as a rapper. I really enjoyed this. Angie Thomas, I did not know until I actually started reading this book, used to be a competitive rapper, and she really gets to show off her skills when she writes Breeze raps for the book. The next book that I read was also an ebook, and it was a kind of a paired duology. It was A Dead Djinn in Cairo and The Haunting of Tramcar 15. Both of those are by P. Djeli Clark. This author was actually new to me. It wasn't until this month came around that I had actually first ever heard of him, but he writes speculative Afrofuturist stories about this one in particular, a private investigator in an alternate version of Egypt where the sort of invasion and colonialization by the French and the British never happened. What did happen, though, was that the Jinn, who are like these otherworldly, not really demonic, but extremely powerful and short-tempered figures from Egyptian and Arab mythology, created a gate between our world and theirs, and they were actually able to open up this floodgate of magic into the world. And so both of those are about investigators that are solving crimes in this alternate Egypt. I also read, and this is probably the favorite book that I read for Black History Month, P. Djeli Clark's first print novella with Tor, which is called The Black God's Drums. I actually picked this up because, number one, it said that it was filled with adventures of sky pirates, and number two, the sky pirate ship is named the Midnight Robber, which, if you do not know, is a reference to Nello Hopkinson's Afrofuturist novel by the same name, which I adore, and so I knew that I had to read this. This one is really incredible. It does stand alone, so feel free to, pick that up. You don't really have to have extensive knowledge of this world he's created, but I just really admire Clark's ability to world build something that was so incredibly specific, despite it being actually rooted in the New Orleans of our world. Excuse me, I'm not sitting really comfortably. Despite being rooted in the New Orleans of our world, and to tell an alternate history of the Civil War without falling back on the same tropes and cliches that we often see in that type of literature. Very highly recommend this. Okay. I also finished reading How Long Till Black Future Month, which is a short story collection by N.K. Jemisin. She's better known as the author of the Dreamblood duology, the Broken Earth series, which have won her Hugos, Nebulas, and accolades galore. This is a collection of short fiction from the beginning of her career until the present day, including some works that proved the inspiration for the Dreamblood duology and the Broken Earth. I thought that this was an interesting read. It wasn't necessarily my favorite just because I don't tend to enjoy anthologies as much as I enjoy novel-length works, but because I'm such a fan of her writing and the worlds that she builds, I still really enjoyed reading it. Alright, I have two more books. One of them was the not that newly, I guess this did come out a few months ago, released History vs. Women, The Defiant Lives That They Don't Want You to Know by Anita Sarkeesian and Ebony Adams. This is kind of in the tradition of Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, where it is a series of different powerful, inspiring women that made history and little short profiles of each of them. I thought that the way that this book actually organized itself and framed the stories of the women was a lot better than many others of its type. But again, like with most of these types of books, I really do wish that the authors had had time and space and scope to go more in depth with the stories of these women. However, it did provide really good bibliography, so if you are going to read this book and then you get really interested in hearing more about the characters described within, you'll know where to go next, and I really do appreciate that. And then finally, I did read a comics anthology this month that was specifically by up-and-coming African comics authors and artists, and it is called the Kugali Anthology. This was actually brought to life via Kickstarter. I know I get a lot of my comics from Kickstarter because it is a really good avenue for non-traditional pathways to comics publishing. And the thing about this book is that each of the authors featured within maybe got like 2 or 3 issues of their ongoing comic series in this book, which is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a series of more short form one-shot comics, but it was not. So I definitely felt like I was craving a little bit more by the time I finished reading it, because you get just enough information to have just begun the stories, and then it's like, and follow us on this website for more updates. Which is great, because it means that the comics are still being made, and they've made their way into print and everything. But I was also a little bit disappointed that I didn't get to actually read more of them in the book. Alright, so that is everything that I read for Black History Month 2019. Comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I'll probably be posting another wrap-up of the few books that I did read that weren't specifically part of this Black History Month list, but I really wanted this to have its own video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.